Welcome to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. As always, I'm truly excited that you're joining us this week. So here's the deal, right? You know, I chose that title, Enlightenment of Change. Critical, the most critical word in there is change. When change hits us, I think sometimes we go into a tailspin, right? We get the angst in our stomach, whatever response you get from your body. So here's the deal. The other thing I've learned in my 63 years on this earth is that every time change hits us, whether we choose it or it's thrust upon us, we have to be able to communicate and articulate really well what we're feeling, what we expect, and what we need to be able to create the change with a little bit more ease and grace. So in the show notes is my gift to you. It's my communication style assessment. You get 2 reports. First report is just your natural communication superpowers, how your message naturally lands without you having to think about it. The flip side, your lowest score, that's a blind spot. Typically, when you're communicating with people 180 degrees different than you, how is your message landing? So I really want you to read that report with a keen eye, because I think blind spots are where we have growth opportunity. So again, show notes, my link is in there, and it is my gift to you. Now, to set the stage, I'm very excited today for our conversation with my guest, but I chose a quote by Albert Einstein to set the stage for the topic. And Albert says, "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of your reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics." So I know everyone's heard, or most people have heard, of law of attraction. Contrary to popular belief, manifestation actually goes far beyond the power of this wishful thinking. Nothing can be manifest into reality without purposeful action and spiritual and energetic guidance. Now, the universal law of creation demands that aligned action be taken to co-create anything in life. Cool topic. So who is this amazing guest today? Her name is Cynthia Rivard. Now, Cynthia is a spiritual teacher, seer, environmental advocate, and author. Through a I don't know what that word means, but meteoric, you're going to have to help me with that one, Cynthia. Through a
meteoric
upleveling. Yes, my mouth wouldn't say that. Meteoric upleveling of channeling skills. Cynthia has become a crystal clear seer for awakening humanity to the next chapter of evolution. Now, raising consciousness and saving humanity from extinction due to the effects of climate change are the first priority, which she illuminates in her book, Hope for a New Era, Turning the Tide, Love and Leadership Through Turbulent Times. So Cynthia, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, right? To share your zone of genius. And everything about you is intriguing for me, from, giving back to Mother Earth, right? Through how we, right? The implication of humans on Earth and what that means. And then you as this channeler, like, wow, you got it all going on, sister. Very exciting.
I am delighted to be here. Thank you, Connie. And I'm very excited to get to know you and to share some of this with your audience. Thank you for having me.
Oh, truly, truly my pleasure. So, all right, let's jump in. The first thing, right? Like I said in the intro, we've all heard of law of attraction, right? The movie, The Secret, all of that. But when discussing manifestation, you believe the proper mindset we have to tap into is the law of creation. Can you share what that law represents and maybe the difference?
Absolutely. So first of all, if I could preface this just a little bit, everything I share is from my own inner wisdom or the channeling I do from my divine aspect. I don't share anything that I've learned elsewhere from anyone else. So sometimes I share things that are unique and you've never heard before. And I just want to encourage everyone. I don't expect, obviously, anyone to believe anything I say, but sit with it. Just be open. I think this is important with all areas of our life right now, especially. There's a lot of distortions out there and fake news, if you will. So whether it's news or, listening to a podcast like this that intrigues you, just stay open to new perspectives and paradigms. and then sit with it. Just say, what if? Because the truth will resonate. That's your own inner wisdom that's going to let you know, no, you need to pay attention to this and lean in. But I may share some things that you've never heard before.
I
So,
love that. I love that. And just let me share, when I
yes, ma'am.
created the show, right, Enlightenment of Change, change is everywhere. It's life. And we really have to learn how to embrace and navigate it. So when I
Mm,
have guests like you, and I always tell people, you might not have heard it before, you might not agree with it at the first listen. If it has increased your perspective where
right,
you're, oh, that's an interesting idea, even if you don't agree with it, you still heard it. It could
right.
open our perspective to what could be. So thank you for saying that, because that really is one of the foundational principles that I want the show to represent. So I love that you said that and articulated it so beautifully. Now, can you now answer the question, right?
Now, remind me
Now
what
we're
the
going to get
question
into the good
was.
stuff.
Let's see, manifesting, right? We're talking about manifesting in the law of creation.
Create,
So
yeah.
there's a lot of misunderstandings about what has kind of become the norm of what people have learned about manifesting or the law of attraction. A lot of it is just misunderstandings or people repeating what they've heard, or some people teaching things that they think has worked for them. They've had success, but there are other things going on that they weren't aware of that were working for them as well. So basically, the law of creation is how anything new, anywhere in the cosmos, is created, all of the planets and stars included. And anytime we create something new to us, these four precepts have to be into play. And as we go through them, I will try and point out some of the misunderstandings or myths around
Perfect.
manifesting.
Perfect.
So there's four precepts that need to be in play. And the first one, nobody really talks about. And that is that the goal cannot be in, it cannot distract you from your life's path and purpose. It doesn't have to be part of your path, but it can't distract from it. So there is a distortion out there that anything you think about, you can manifest if you go about it the right way, or think about it, or, align to it properly. And that's just not true. And if you've ever tried to manifest something, you may know that that's not true. If you failed, it has to be somewhat in alignment with your life's path and purpose by not distracting you from that path. An example would be, you want to be a multimillionaire. This is a really extreme example, but let's say you have an idea and you want to just pour yourself into becoming, this mega business owner. That it doesn't matter if that's not your soul's path and purpose, because our purpose isn't always how we earn a living. But if it's taking all of your time and attention, it could be distracting from what you are really here to do. So it may not be your path, and therefore you're going to struggle to create it. And definitely, even if you start to make progress, you won't be able to hold on to it. That's when those universal 2x4s may come into play, because our guides are trying to lead us in a different direction. So you have to be not distracting from your soul's path and purpose. And if I can segue a little bit here, because I'm sure some people are wondering, well, how do I know? Is this on my path, or is this distracting me from my path and purpose? The number one best skill you can develop ever for anything in your life, and it would certainly help with easier manifesting, is developing your own inner wisdom. Some people call it intuition, that divine guidance. My favorite term I like to use is divine GPS. We all have divinity in us, and it's there our entire life to guide us. And we're very good at ignoring it or second guessing it, often just because of cultural expectations. You don't listen to something that doesn't make analytical sense, often because it is trying to nudge us toward change. perfect topic for us here.
Yes.
Often, because we resist, we're scared of change, whether you recognize it as fear or something else. Change is scary. And quite often, your inner wisdom knows you're capable of more than you or society has pigeonholed you into. And change is scary. So we ignore the nudges. But I'm digressing. We all have this inner wisdom, and it's a skill that everyone can develop. I used to think it was a gift and it wasn't meant for me. And I developed this, my own skill and crystal clear channeling very late in life. I just want to point that out. Now is a time when a lot of people are spiritually awakening or just tuning into that intuition, which is your connection with spirit. As you become aware of that intuitive knowing or that internal gut feeling, that's your clue that you are able to receive that guidance. You just have to practice and develop that skill and get to know and trust it. So if you're wondering if you are on the right path, the way to know is to really develop that inner wisdom, because that's your GPS.
So can I ask, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm very curious here. So you said you developed this later in life. Was there a trigger, a moment, what, like a pivotal moment or a crossroad that caused you to tap into this? And how did you know something was happening, and how did you go deeper? I guess, does my question make sense?
Yes, it does. And it's an interesting story because a lot of people feel like, well, and a lot of people do start waking up spiritually or going in that direction after a traumatic event, or they remember an experience that kind of led them that way. I did not have that. It was just time. It was my path. And I started getting nudged and curious, and things just lined up for me, guiding me in this direction. It turns out and this is true for everyone, I had what people call intuition all along, those intuitive nudges, that guidance going on, but I didn't recognize it. And if you're not recognizing it for what it is, you're not able to lean in and develop it and develop that trust and follow it. So it was always there, but I didn't recognize it. And it just got much stronger really in the last couple of years when the frequencies expanded, which we'll get into.
Yes, yes.
Because my frequency went through the roof. And the more your frequency rises, the easier it is to connect with divinity, because they operate at a very high frequency. So that is how my inner wisdom really kicked into gear. And I was getting full sentences and channeling books, and it really kicked in with the higher frequencies. But to be honest, if I knew what I was doing, if I knew that those sensations I was following were actually clairsentience, the sixth sense, clairsentience, claircognizance I already had and I didn't know it. If I'd known that, I probably would have shut down, because it would have scared me. We are scared of things we don't understand.
Of course.
And something that most of us were not taught growing up is scary to think, it's in that paranormal things you don't understand. That's just weird, woo voodoo or whatever. And it's not. It's beautiful, and it aligns, if you're open to it, with every single religious practice out there, every world religion, but anyway, if you haven't been taught and it's new, it's change and it's scary, I would have shut down probably. So I didn't know what I was doing. I just kept leaning in. And I recommend that you just be curious and explore. And I have a training on my YouTube channel we can share later, that you can check out, but it really is a skill to just be intentional about developing.
It's interesting because I'm curious that you said this isn't a gift. I've always felt that people were given different levels of the clairs, right? Clairvoyance, clair,
Mhm.
sense, the word you use,
Sentience.
sentience. Thank you. I'm off today, Cynthia. I'm telling you. But so the clairs and all of that, and I always felt that they were gifts that people were given. Some had higher strengths than others.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that your frequency amplified, went up, right?
Mhm.
Again, how did you know it? What created the higher frequency? Did your mindset change? Like, did something
Mhm.
change in you to
Mhm.
have this higher frequency output?
Okay. So we all have the ability to develop the skill, but I was very much like you, seeing, channels on YouTube that started when they were 3 years old or whatever. I thought that any kind of sixth sense was a gift, and I didn't have it.
Yes.
I was around 60 when I started really recognizing what was going on and leaning in and developing this skill. When my frequency shot up, and I'd been doing energy work before that, and that helped my frequency rise because trapped emotions
Mm,
will keep it stuck.
mm,
So I helped the circumstance. And as my frequency rose, my claircognizance became stronger and stronger and stronger. And so that's how I knew what was going on, and that the frequencies had expanded, and, everything started coming together. At that point, I was very clear, but I'd been kind of building up the clairsentience and the claircognizance without
yeah.
really knowing it.
Yeah. So fascinating. It was your path.
Yes, it was my path, but there are a lot of people that have not developed this skill yet, that it's their path as well, because it's available to all of us. And people who are curious about this area, it's their path. They're here. Those of you listening right now, you are here to help with this evolution of humanity that we're going into right now, because you can see the world's a mess, and
Yeah.
we're leaking toxicity all over the place,
Yeah.
and really doing our best to make ourselves extinct.
Yeah.
We're here for a reason, to help with this evolution. And if you are called to this area and curious about it, you're meant to develop your skills and lean in, because the only way you'll know how you're meant to help, what your path and purpose is, and you could be living your path and your purpose now, but it's probably meant to expand, if not pivot, over the next few years because of the turmoil and the transitions we're going into.
Yeah.
So I really encourage everyone to develop that skill, be intentional about it, because it's available to all of us. So we've talked a little bit about frequencies, and the second precept that needs to be in alignment is that the goal you have is energetically aligned with your personal emotional frequency. We all have one, but a misunderstanding is that your mindset or positive thinking can raise it, and it cannot. As it raises, you will hold more of those positive emotions for longer. So they are related, but the positive thinking does not create it. You need to be intentional about raising your frequency. And the frequencies did expand a couple of years ago. So most people, their frequency wants to rise. But if you're not clearing or dissipating those trapped emotions, which most people have, it's very much part of our nature to get embroiled in heavier emotions now and then, and they can get trapped in our bodies, and they will keep our frequency stuck. That could be going on. And the other thing that can keep it from rising is if you're in a lower frequency environment most of the time, or with lower frequency people. Not that you need to change your friends, but if you have the highest vibe in your friend group, you need to at least occasionally be around a higher frequency to work like a magnet to pull you up. And the first thing I recommend to everyone is to get out in nature, because if your frequency, the average on the planet, most people's frequency is under 500 bioenergy units, which actually is the frequency of discontent.
Ugh.
That doesn't mean that's really what you're feeling. It means your frequency's trapped. So don't feel badly. I have a training to help you measure your frequency and figure this out. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. You just didn't know. And now you can diffuse those trapped emotions and help your frequency rise. The goal that you've come up with, the frequency of your goal, if it's a personal goal, your subconscious is going to assign a frequency to it. And it will be higher if it's a stretch. If it's something new to you, but it's in your existing skill set, it may not, you may already be aligned frequency wise with that goal. If it's a stretch, you probably aren't. And there's nothing that's actually very exciting, because you get to, work your way up to it, and you don't wait to get started, but just know that your frequency does need to align with that goal. So that, go ahead.
I have a question. So I feel the negativity around, like, I don't watch the news because it's just for ratings, right? And I don't look at clickbait because I think, it's a false, they want you to read and click and whatever. It's all about the money, right? Which is fine. We all have to make a living. I have no problem with that piece of it. But I feel like we are an angry society. So based on what you're describing, my question is, if we're not raising our vibration and we're stuck, but whatever's happening in our life, we're trying to push through that, could that create frustration and angst, and that anger to be displaced, meaning I am internally frustrated, so I lash out to others because I don't really know what's happening? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, the frequency being trapped is not going to create the anger, but you will experience, if it's a very low frequency, you will experience heavier emotions like anger. So as an example, when your frequency rises and you get, as high as you can on the frequency scale, as you go higher, you don't experience as much depth when you have those up and down days, meaning you'll hold on to happiness for longer periods, and what used to make you angry may just end up being irritated, if that makes sense. You won't be as angry and as reactive as you might have been in the past. And part of that is diffusing those trapped emotions. So yes, your frequency can rise. And part of that is learning to regulate your emotions. It's emotional intelligence, which I'm sure, everyone has heard of in the corporate world talking about, so that we can engage in calm, rational, diplomatic conversations with opposing viewpoints. We need to regulate our emotions and not be reactive. When you're reactive, you're not thinking clearly. And, it's a whole host of things, but that is emotional intelligence, regulating your emotions so that you can stay in a more positive place. And raising your frequency will help with that, because it becomes easier as your frequency rises.
Sure, of course, because you're more open to the positivity. Now, before you mention our soul's true purpose, like, people are listening going, I still don't know. Like, how do we figure that out? Is there a tool or a strategy?
So first of all, know that it will change throughout your life as you're growing and evolving. it will as well. Or, typically it will, because at 20, we're a different person than at 60.
Sure, sure.
So know that you could be very set on your purpose at 20 or 40, and that doesn't mean it's not changing and evolving after that. Basically, stay open and curious and learn how to tap into your inner wisdom, because it's different for everyone. And maybe your purpose is just being that positive ray of sunshine, lifting your frequency, and then acting like a magnet to everyone you're around. You're the highest frequency in your friend group, and you're helping lift others. Maybe that's your purpose rather than what you're doing through your workday. Now, hopefully, whatever you do, you enjoy, and it's significant to you, but it may not be your overriding path and purpose that your divine self wants to make sure that you get to do for the most fulfillment on this journey.
It's all so fascinating, Cynthia. It really is, because there's so many moving parts to the human brain, right? And our heart and our energetic fields and all of these things. It's complicated, it's exciting, and it's a little daunting at times, right? When you start thinking about this. And I know people are listening saying, I don't know if I'm on my path. I don't know if my frequency is stuck. I don't know what high frequency feels like, right? So
Right.
I think the more we listen and hear other people's stories, and like you said, it came to you later in life, like really at 60, you kind of dialed in. So it gives people hope to say, okay, well, I'm 40, 50, 60, 65. I kind of get what she's saying, right? So it's opening the door of the curiosity, I think, that
Yes.
allows the right information or process or way to think about things to find us, right? Whatever that is, that's going to resonate.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of people are guided, but they don't recognize it. So something guided you to listen to this conversation. Lean in, take it a
Right.
step further, whatever piqued your interest. Stay curious and keep leaning in, and know that, you may not always be living your purpose, but you will be on a path to acquire the knowledge and the skills or the right acquaintances or whatever it is. And you'll know you're on the path when you're trusting your inner wisdom or your guidance.
And I think it finds you, it's funny. I have a friend up in Maine. I use him in so many good examples through a voice disorder. He changed. He's a CEO of a multi-generation company, right? And now he loses his voice, thrown into a CEO position younger, right? He felt maybe I wasn't ready or whatever. He was forced to change his leadership model. And I'm very drawn to his model of leadership. He's been on my show several times. He's written several books. He travels the country now, clearly living his life purpose more than just the CEO of the company, right, that he inherited. And he's changed the whole business model. The other thing is I heard him interview a banker. My clients are bankers, and I'm trying to get more bankers on my shows to show that there is a nice way that we could bring love into even banking. And at the end of the day, help our client journey financially, whatever that means, right? Depending on where people are with money. And he is best like a really good friend of a CEO of a bank who now came on my show when I recorded. I have two shows. He was on my other show. So I feel like when you open yourself up and you love, right? And we love each other and we respect maybe respect's the better word. We respect each other deeply. Now I've met this other gentleman through him who writes inspiring daily, like little mantras and stuff. So I feel fulfilled. And it all started with somebody introducing me to, Kevin Hancock. So that I think, is that an example of opening yourself up and then more find you, you're allowing it to find you. Yes.
Yes, because quite often there are those nudges, and it's a path that has been divinely orchestrated to lead you in that direction. And I'll also say one last thing about your life's path and purpose. Some people get a little caught up in, well, what if I don't want that path? And you're talking about this divine GPS. I thought I had free choice. Are you saying I don't have a choice? This is what I need to do? And I love the term divine GPS because your inner wisdom's always with you, there to guide you toward your happiest and most fulfilled life. But you're in the driver's seat. You can choose to take as many detours as you like and or not go in that direction at all. It's your choice. I always say, well, why would you do that if you're being guided by divinity? But you're always in the driver's seat. But we frequently will get these little divine nudges or breadcrumbs, or, if you're really tuned in to your inner wisdom, you'll just know, okay, this is an opportunity I need to explore further. And quite often we explore those opportunities and we learn, okay, well, that's not what we thought it might be, but I met someone else and now I'm going this way. It's just like an ongoing learning process, but you have to be in action exploring before those opportunities come to you or those new doors open up. You can't figure anything out on the couch. That is the biggest pearl of wisdom that ever was given to me. I think it's really important that you start taking action as soon as you feel a nudge, even if it's just a little small one, because you won't figure it out. You can't see the end of the path from where you sit trying to figure it out.
You could just see possibly when you're in motion, though, you do see that next step or two, maybe not further than that, right? I think it was Steve Jobs who said, he was one of the commencement speeches, but he's said it before. Now, before he passed away, he said that now at whatever age he was, he said, I look back and all of the steps I took, I didn't know if they were right or wrong along the way, right? You do the best you can. But now looking back, every one of those steps brought me to where I am now. And I had to have those experiences and meet whatever people and have whatever failures that we experience or hardships to make us stronger for whatever that next step might be. So there's a lot of muscle stuff going on internally to prepare us for what's yet to come.
That's right. And just because you experience a quote unquote failure, it doesn't mean you weren't meant to take that step.
That's exactly
because we're always hopefully learning those lessons.
It makes us stronger. Right? The hardships makes us have, we can handle the next hardship that comes because we had to battle through whatever it is in front of you. So it's like the chrysalis, right? The caterpillar is in the chrysalis, but it's got to fight its way out. If someone cuts it for it, it'll die. It doesn't have the strength for it to fly. It's the same concept for us. And I think we forget that we think life should be smooth sailing. That's dangerous because with those hardships are huge lessons that really can catapult us forward, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have one more question. We're almost out of time, but I do want to ask this. You talked about population, right? And the majority world's population. Again, I feel that many people are stuck in this overwhelm and choosing to stay uninvolved, afraid, the things we talked about before. How can we move forward? Or is there a tip that you could give before we end the show so that people say, okay, maybe there is hope. Here's my next step. Does that make sense?
Yes. And oh boy, I have so many things we could talk about. First, we started talking about the law of creation, and I only covered 2 of the precepts. So to really quickly not explain them, but mention them.
Yes, please.
The third one is alignment of your identity with the goal, but know that you can't create it before you start taking action. That's really important. A lot of people think they need to do visioning or hypnosis and create the identity first. And that's not how it works. You have to start taking action, and it's the actions that impact your beliefs that create your identity.
Cool.
The fourth one is aligned action taking, and it's all about action. We have to tap into your inner wisdom to know that it's the right action and be discerning and not just stay busy. Make sure it's the right action, but you can't manifest from the couch. Not if it's something new and you're the one responsible for creating it. That is a little bit of a myth in the manifesting space. You have to take action. And then the last tip, as far as manifesting goes, if you have all of that in alignment, the most common area people fail to manifest is quitting too soon, because the law of gestation is at play. Our ideas or our goals are like seeds, and they take time to be nurtured and to grow. And we don't always see the growth right away, right? It's growing roots. And then after we see the growth, it's going to take a while for it to bear fruit. Most people quit too soon. So just know, if everything's in alignment and you're checking in with your inner wisdom, sometimes the path will change and you need to change course and maybe not keep that goal. But quite often, you're doing everything right. You just haven't given it enough time, because we want things to be faster than they are.
Yeah. And I think I have an example of that. I remember, it has to be over a decade ago. We were on the beach, and I was talking to my sister, and I said, I just feel like I have a book in me. I don't know. She goes, what? I go, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I just know, I think I'm supposed to write a book. And and so she asked me technical, what's the topic? I don't know. Who's what? I don't know. And I just kept saying, I don't know. And I said, I just have to percolate on it and it'll come to me. Well, fast forward, I created a signature class, and I thought, some people might not be able to afford to hire me. Let me put it into like a workbook. I created that, and I kind of put it on the shelf and forgot about it. And then COVID hit, and I had more downtime, right? Because I wasn't with clients. The world had stopped. Everybody was watching Netflix. I was working, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna publish the book. This is the time for me. And so, I did it in dribs and drabs. Let me tell you, Cynthia.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it was that opportunity that I actually had quite a bit of time that I could think about it and then network and find what the next step was to get it published. And then I published the book. So, but it was 10 years in the making, right? And
Yeah.
I just never abandoned the idea. The timing was off. So
Yep.
yeah, is that kind of an example of what you're talking about? Like, don't quit. Sometimes we pause and then go back to it.
Well, not just even pausing. Sometimes you're in action and you're taking the right action, and it just doesn't bear fruit as quickly as you would like.
Right.
But keep checking in, because sometimes the path needs to change a little bit. We need to be flexible and keep checking in with your inner wisdom. But quite often people just quit because it's taking too long. Was the point there.
Patience. Yeah. We want it. We don't have the patience, right? It's like it should happen now.
Right.
So okay, we're out of time. Oh my gosh, there's so much more, Cynthia. There's so much more. But
so I will, to answer your last question, I will just say that there is a whole lot of wisdom I share actually in my second book that I was guided to put out this summer, called A New Breed of Leader. I get into what creates these instinctual programs that we see manifesting in the freeze response all over the place. Everyone hiding their heads, being disengaged. And I talk a lot about recognizing it in yourself, working through it, having compassion, and helping others work through it, so we can take action and become engaged in what's going on in our world. We all have the power to influence others. I'm not just talking about your workplace, although even without a title, you have influence, and therefore you're able to lead. But everywhere in our lives, we have influence. And when you recognize that and become intentional, you can help others as well. And if more of us are doing that, our communities would be much better places. So I talk about those instinctual programs and human conditioning, which is really causing the breakdown now, and everyone hiding their heads or fighting for their beliefs, and all the hate going back and forth, and the villainizing the other side. We're never going to move forward if we can't listen and have conversations and compassion for that other side. We're not different in the ultimate goals most of us want. Safety, love. We're very similar, and we're one human race. And we need to inspire that compassion by showing it through our own actions and inspiring it in others, but getting out of that instinctual program to fight or flight or freeze is a big step in helping people get involved.
Yeah. And I think it's critical. The young man just got killed. Right. He got shot and killed. He was at a university. I forget his first name, but Kirk, I believe, is the last name. And he was an activist and just a good human. People didn't like his perspective, and you get shot. Like it's craziness. It's just craziness. So I love this concept that we, through love, empathy, right, caring, just being a good person, we really collectively can change the world. We really can. We have the power to do it. But I
And there's
think
the
we have,
ripple effect.
yes,
Starts
yes,
with
right.
us.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
starts with us. Exactly. I can't control others, but I can control myself. So you're fascinating, Cynthia. Guys, website, everything will be in the show notes, but Cynthia's website, cynthiarivard.com. And I know that you put a lot on YouTube. We will include that link. And the gifts and the books, are they on the website as well, Cynthia?
They are as well. Yes.
Okay. And you're going to give me the resource. You said that can you tell everybody, you're going to give me the link so people literally can click and go to the resource page on the website, easy peasy, if that's what they're looking for. What will be on that link?
So one of my resources is a video training you on how to measure your frequency, how to raise your frequency, and a chart of the scale of emotional frequencies. So you can figure out where you are and how it's going as you go up the frequency scale. So I'm excited to share that. And I really encourage everyone to check that out. And there are some other resources there as well.
And the books. So the books they can get right on the website as well. So read through the back covers of the books, I'm sure, that you have on the website. See which one resonates with you. Again, keep the conversation going within yourself, right? That curiosity, keep that door open and follow this path wherever it takes you. So I always end the show, Cynthia. First, thank you for being on, and just lovely conversation. You're brilliant, and I truly enjoyed this. And I feel like I learned something and am more curious than I was before our conversation. So certainly thank you for that.
Awesome.
The other thing I say, Cynthia, is information's a beautiful thing. But if we do nothing with it, right? It's information in our brain, great, but it's not going to create or change anything in our world. So everyone's call to action is pick the link you want. I'm going to have the website, bunch of stuff's there. You can investigate. YouTube link, if you're a YouTube watcher, check that out. And then the link to directly to the resource page, so that you could figure out your frequency and the chart, so you can measure where you are and really the pathway of how to get there. So you have several options, whatever's comfortable for you. Here's the bottom line: do it.
Take action. That's right. I always say that too, because I love learning.
Yes.
But if you don't apply it, you're going to forget it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it doesn't make any difference then.
It doesn't.
And it goes to the back
help.
of the brain and we lose it. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you again. Just
my pleasure.
Lovely. Thank you so much for being on. Truly, truly. Yeah.
Thanks,
Connie. And my pleasure. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover, no matter where you are, on changing your life. I truly hope my guests and I help you enlighten your pathway so that you could create the change in your life and the life that you really deserve, desire, whatever frame of reference you're coming from. Again, thank you so much for tuning into Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. And I am honored that you come every week to hear my guests and my conversation. And like Cynthia started at the onset of the show, I truly hope that it helps you expand your perspective, just to see the world in a little bit different way. And again, to take that next step forward. That's the power we have. And I hope you all seize the moment and take advantage. I love you all. I'll see you next week. Have a great one. And Cynthia, thank you again. Great show.
Thank you so much.